Good morning, guys. Okay, let's have a look at our US indexes for the week ahead, the 19th of May. So as always, we will start on the S&P and then we will move on to the Nasdaq. We've got our zones set up from the previous week. We'll have a quick look at these and then we'll move on to the markets for the trading week ahead. So what we were looking at was the break out of our triangle, very strong move up, and then we went over how potentially we would see some sort of a pullback coming into the trading week of last week. So our zone at 2740, around about 2748 to 2740, we had the as key resistance. Market tests, it makes a very, very strong move down. Now we've just came down below this zone at 2709, and potentially we were then looking for the weakness. We've just popped down below, we haven't found any weakness, but then we've pressed right back up into one of our resistance zones right here. We find the resistance, the move back down into our 2714 to 2710 zone where we bounce, and the next day, so the Friday, once again, resistance in the zone, straight down into our support level. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the market for the trading week ahead. What I'm going to do, just in the interest of keeping the video relatively short, I'll pause it. I'm going to delete these two zones because I want to have a look at them, adjust them slightly. The rest of them, really, they're still sitting at pretty good levels. Okay, so what we're doing, why we've deleted these levels, is because the market is telling us that really up above the resistance level is just ever so slightly higher, and down below it's now potentially giving us the clue that we've got maybe two zones or maybe just one slightly larger zone. We're going to have a look at that in a second. But for next week, really what the market has been doing is putting in a little bit of a squeeze. 1 and 2. So we haven't really gone anywhere. We've been a very strong move up, started to have a squeeze, potentially continuation. What we're really going to be looking at is our zones to give us the clue. With the squeeze, and then if we break out of one of our zones also, it's giving us the clue as to potential direction. Now we've broken out of the triangle, so there is a good chance that we'll have the pullback to retest at key levels before we then bounce once again, if we are going to hold above the broken pattern. So our zones, really, let me just turn this back to black. Okay, so up above, we are really giving the clue that we've got a nice level of resistance up here. And if we just bring it down to around about, so 2731 to around about 2725. It's really the upper band of resistance. Potentially a little bit lower. 2724. Now down below, so really, let's have a look here. We do want to take into account the spike. So it's the 2700 level, which is the round number, also giving us another little added confluence. Now really it's all the way up into 2710. That's a pretty big zone for the S&P. So we're going to make it 2705. And then we'll split it into two zones. One sitting at 2711 down to 2707, like this. So they're pretty close together. Really, it is one main area. So we've got one here and one here. What we're doing is we're using the price action that we've been given more recently. We had been using a little previous swing point. They're finding support just a little bit lower, so we're using them as the two zones. So coming into next week, let's just put this back in. We've got the potential squeeze. And what we're really looking at is if we break down below these two levels, it's then opening up the resistance. Now we do have a more minor level at 2695, 2692, but if we are breaking down below these levels, really we'd be expecting the move down to 2680 to 2670. Now up above that 2725, 2731, if we're breaking up above that level, it's very likely we're coming back up to retest at the highs at 2740 to 2748. So those are key levels for next week. Here and here. Now if we do see the move back down into these levels, yeah, good support right here, 2680, 2670. And then down below, we went over this last week, the triangle, the center of that triangle, very often a good level for support. And if we break down below also, and we see the market pulling back as resistance. Really good. So those are the main things for next week, guys. Those are the zones. I will list them down below. Let's move on to the Nasdaq. Okay guys, so for the Nasdaq, we had that more pronounced triangle on this chart. We've broken up again. We were looking for potential resistance. This is one of our levels, key level 6993 really to 7,018. Key resistance. Market popped up on the Monday, found that resistance, and then we had a very strong move down straight through our two zones here into what? Key support level at 6860 to 6833. We were looking for potential bullish bounces. Market bounces all the way back up, just came up above our two more minor zones right here. Then we came all the way back down and tested once again as support. Okay, so let's pause the video. I'll get rid of the markings. Also really going to get rid of these two more minor zones that we had from last week and potentially just look to adjust them slightly. Okay guys, so for the Nasdaq, what we were looking at last week was potentially, after we found the resistance, this level right here as key support. And then basically, we came down on the Tuesday and bounced back up on the Wednesday, and then with subscribers from the Wednesday, basically been going over how, there was the potential then for another test at these levels. Now we just came down toward those levels on the Friday. What we're actually going to do is this 6833 level, we're going to bring the upper band up just a little bit to around about 6865, 66, like this. This remains key support coming into next week. If we're breaking down below there, then it's opening up really a stronger correction on the Nasdaq. And we could then treat the level as resistance, looking for the sellers to step in, bringing it down into the zone down below at 6,800, 6,770, which is the round number. And again, it's a good level of support. Down below there, again, we can look for that potential step down into our next zone, which is at 6,742, 6,713. Again, it's a good level of support. So really we're just looking at this sort of these three here as a ladder. Support if we break down below resistance, support if we break down below resistance, and then key level of support once again. Up above, this remains very key resistance right here at 7,017 to 6,993. And then in between, we've been giving a little bit more evidence as to where our zones are sitting. We've got 6,953 down toward, let's have a look here. We want to make this in a couple of zones. We've got one at 6,947. I'm just looking at the spikes up, the spike down, the market holding at these levels. Then we've got one sitting at 6,927. Really down to 6,910. What we're doing is we're looking at the spike up, the spike down. If we come to the left, we're also looking at recent price action or relatively recent price action where the market has been testing into these levels, but we're lining it up with the more recent price action. Once again, I would say this is very key resistance. These two levels are a little bit more minor. Very key support and resistance levels down here, up above, very key resistance. If we're breaking up above this level, next key resistance is, oops, wrong one, sorry, 7,054 to 7,074. So key ones down here, two key ones up here, a little bit more minor at these levels, but still worthwhile watching for potential resistance. If we're up above, support, resistance. If we're up above, we want to be a little bit careful of trading into this whole stall area right here. But for me, up above this level, next key levels are sitting right here. And again, we're looking potentially for a stronger pullback after the break of the triangle, see if the market's going to hold, or if we're going to start failing and then coming back down the other way. At present, the market is still holding bullish. Okay, guys, that is everything for this week. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world, you're having some nice sunshine like we are here in Scotland. I hope you all have a good trading week next week. I'm James Orr, and thank you.